Who's doing the third part? Me?
Aren't you? I mean, I could do that too if you want.
I'll do the third part.
Fünf, vier, drei, zwei.
It's a secret. Welcome back to Come and Brew It Radio, coming to you from Texas Brewing Inc. in Haltom City, Texas. You can find us on the web at txbrewing.com and be sure to follow us on Facebook and share with all your friends. In this episode, we'll be covering BJCP style category 16A, Sweet Stout, that dark, rich, sweet, and slightly roasty version of a stout of varying ABV levels that's perfect for an autumn or winter evening. It's listed under category 16 dark British beer, but where it may not be modified as often overseas, it's frequently found with additions here in the States. Why? Because it's a great base style to work with a large variety of flavors. Tonight we have Ryan McWhorter of Panther Island Brewing Company in studio with us to help us talk about this versatile style, and one of their more popular brews is Sweet Fang, a seasonal chocolate peanut butter milk stout. And guess what? If you can't get your hands on a sample of Sweet Fang where you live, then you're in luck because we'll soon have a Pro Series recipe kit on our shelves here at Texas Brewing.
But before we get started, please be sure to check out our Patreon account to help support the show. Every little bit counts, and if you visit patreon.com/comeandbrewitradio, we have a variety of options for you to help keep the show going. Get involved and improve it. Also, every live show will be doing a giveaway for all our patrons at the end of each month. We'll be doing a monthly product giveaway for all our $5, $10, and $20 patrons. Boom.
I'm Brandon.
Hi, Mikey B.
I'm Stubby as well.
I'm Joe Marone.
And I'm Michael.
And Mikey. And Mikey.
I said that.
Oh, you did?
Jesus.
Okay, my bad. Jeez. All right. Oh,
All right, well,
long day.
welcome back. It's going to be a rip-roaring show tonight. We've got a full house, and we've got a ton of beer, a lot to talk about, some trips to Europe, lots of high ABV beer going around here.
Sounds like
Yeah.
it already.
Yeah,
Hey-oo.
well, it's been a long week, I'll tell you that.
Good.
All right.
That's what we like.
So, what are we starting out with? You mean
I
to
guess
talk about
we
my
have
trips?
Well,
My trips? Our trips?
I
Or
don't
recent
know.
happenings?
I don't know. It seems like you really want to talk about
I think he
them.
wants to talk about his trip.
Stubby 1.0, you should talk about your trips.
Yeah.
Stubby 2.0,
Well-
which is me, I'll come in after.
Well, I'm really not going to get too much into it. Just that I was in the UK. We went to one of our suppliers, went through Munton's facility. They really rolled out the red carpet for us, and so they allowed us to go in and film, which is really odd because most people don't allow you to do that in their facilities. So they let us see everything. I mean, there was no you can't film this part or anything. So they had different times. They had different people set up for us to go through different parts of the facility. It was a full all day tour. So we're going to be able to cut some of that video together soon and put it out there for you so you can see the whole malting facility. I thought
Is that going to be a Patreon thing, or are we going to put that up on Facebook?
Well, we probably will do a small mixed down version for everybody, and then maybe do like a full access for the patrons.
The patrons get to see the naked part. And
Yeah. You get to see me as Bob the Builder.
there you
Bob
go.
the Builder. Yeah. Those were some good photos.
And then, of course, we went to Germany, and we went to one of the other things that we're going to do. I had a little quick video that we shot at in Leipzig for the home of the Goza. So we're going to actually we talked to the head brewer there that I think he's been there since 2008, and kind of got revived the style. And I think we're going to try to, if we can't, maybe Greg and I can get on with him early, and we'll do a phone interview or a Skype interview. He was real open to that. So
That'd be cool. Yeah.
So anyway, that's basically what I did.
Now, Mikey has a Dublin trip to talk about, but I think we should save that for the second
we can
half
save
because
that.
we got beers
Yeah.
to talk about
We
with
got
it
beer.
and all that good stuff. He's not saying, let's talk about my trip, but I'm not really going to talk about my trip that much right now.
I didn't talk about my trip a lot, did I?
I don't want to talk about my trip, but give me 30 minutes and I'll tell you all about it.
Jeez, Stubby, easy.
Hey, Stubby,
Golly.
Stubby 2, you quiet down.
But anyhow, recent happenings. I think there's a lot of stuff we can kind of go over that's kind of going on right now. I think that's it's really taken off, this Sierra Nevada Resilience IPA.
Yeah.
I know it just seems like more and more people are brewing that. So kind of a cool deal. It's was started by Sierra Nevada, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't know, and then BA kind of tagged along.
Yeah,
with it.
yeah. The BA got a hold of it, and
I
put it
really
out there
figured
for
you were
everybody.
going to know more about it than me, so I didn't bother to read about it, actually.
I just been filling orders all week.
The
for it, so.
the BA got a hold of it and put it out to all the breweries that are involved in the
I pity the fool who don't brew my beer.
Brewers
What does BA stand for?
The Brewers Association.
Okay.
Yeah, or administration.
yeah.
Brewers Association.
Yes,
yeah.
BA Baracus. Yes. So it's
Told you I ain't getting on no airplane.
what Sierra Nevada's doing is they're brewing an IPA. It's a special recipe IPA that they're brewing, and every proceed from the sale of that is going to help with the campfire out there in California. And then the BA put it out there, and they ask any brewery that can to go ahead and brew the same recipe. The recipe's out there. Sierra Nevada put it out there, and then I believe the BA picked it up and put it on their information. And so I think over 1,000 breweries in the country have already done it, and we know of about 40 Texas breweries that have done it. The ones we know of locally are Brain Dead Community, Cowtown, Denton County, Legal Draft, Martin House, New Maine, Dirty Job, The Collective, Steam Theory, Tups, and Wild Acre right now. What's that? Rabbit Hole's also done it.
And
So
I've also heard RAR is doing it also.
Yeah, I don't know how
Cool.
they're. I think they're just going to do it for the tap room or something. I don't know. But anyway.
That list is like 3 days old.
yeah. So it's a really cool deal that Sierra Nevada is doing, and it's amazing that so many breweries across the country are doing it. So
Yeah, kind of.
Well, and on that, Mikey, I've heard it's even actually worldwide. That there's
Yeah.
1,000 breweries across the across
it
the
now
nation.
world-
Yeah, across,
yeah.
exactly.
Damn,
and it's
man.
not only the proceeds; it's 100% of sales, which is different
Yeah.
than
That's
than,
correct.
than
Yeah, yes,
profit.
that's right.
So
It is.
100% of the sales is going to the campfire.
Yeah. So
that's right. Said that
Man,
wrong.
these
Yeah,
guys
it's
may be
every
set
bit
up
of
in
it.
some badass mansions.
Well, and
I doubt that.
it's a really basic IPA. It's just basically I have it pulled up here. It's 11 pounds of 2-row, 1.25 pounds of Crystal 60, and then it's an ounce of Centennial at 80, an ounce at Cascade at 15, an ounce of Centennial at 15, and then half an ounce of Cascade and Centennial at Whirlpool, and then a half an ounce also at Dry Hop.
That
So
sounds
it's a
like
real
a good old
basic.
West Coast IPA to me. We don't do those
Well-
anymore. Did
Well,
anybody
and-
tell them
right.
we don't do that anymore?
Exactly. Well, and that's the great thing is, I saw the recipe and I was like, that's so Sierra Nevada. That like
Yeah.
reading the
It's
hops and
every
everything.
bit of
That
it, yeah.
yeah.
I'm just hoping that maybe that'll turn people back on to like
Good
clear,
old
clear IPAs.
Make IPA clear again.
So anyway, the other thing is, was it Craft Pack?
Yeah, I don't know anything
Oh.
about this. Hopefully
Okay.
somebody else does.
Oh, you know about this,
Listed
don't
right
you? Huh?
It's written right there.
It's just written right here. Oh, I know. I know.
Well, that's not a. It's
Well,
it's not a full explanation of what it is.
Basically, it's a lobbying for getting beer to go sales
Here in Texas.
in Texas
For production
for
breweries.
production breweries. Yes, exactly.
Hashtag fix Texas beer laws today.
Yeah, contribute
Today?
at this. They're looking for contributions to finish out to reach their goal.
Get on the mic, dude.
What? Get up on that mic.
They're looking for contributions to reach their goal right now, and it's
$20.19.
contribute 2019, and then to Crab Pack's fight at hashtag fix Texas beer laws.
Today?
Should be able to find it out there,
I saw this last night, and basically what they're saying is wineries, distilleries, brew pubs can sell beer to go. Production breweries can't. We need to basically put it on a level playing field. So that's
I
kind
don't
of
know, man.
It looks like the legislation for 2019 with the here in Texas that's going to be their push is on the production end to get beer to go from a production facility.
If we allow people to make a product and then sell it to people, all of society is going to crumble.
I
I don't
know,
understand what's going to happen.
Dogs and cats living together.
Up is
mass
down,
hysteria.
black is white. Yeah.
Alcoholism's going to go through the roof. I
Right.
mean, it's just going to be awful.
I mean, it really is going to cause me a problem. You know, I'm going to be drunk all the time.
That's why we
Aren't you
switched
already?
our license from production to brew pub
Right.
just
Just to sell.
because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, because we had a lot of people asking for growler fills, cans to go, all that stuff, and unfortunately, you know, we had to switch our license, which cost us quite a bit to do. I think it's
It didn't take you long to recoup that, though. I'd imagine, right?
no, it really didn't. But I think it's ridiculous that
Yeah, you
know
have to have two
production
licenses
breweries
anyways, yeah.
can't do that because still a production brewery with a brew pub license. So
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, Rabbit Hole did that. Didn't Hot Fusion do that too?
They're
Or they're
in
in
the
the process
process.
I
of
think
doing
they're
it?
in the
Yeah,
process. Yeah. Cowtown, I think, is a
brew pub,
brew
yeah.
pub.
Mhm. I mean, you gotta even to be required to have a brew pub license. I mean, or a production license, you got to brew quite a bit of beer, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah.
what, like 10,000 barrels a year or something like that.
It's quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's-
that's a pretty decent sized brewery. So
I don't know. I feel comfortable with all these rules. I wish there were more rules. Personally, I'm not going to give them my $20 unless they create more rules. That's all I'm saying.
They're gonna have the Brandon rule. Brandon
feel
is
so
not
much
allowed to
safer
buy
at night.
beer.
Yeah.
Well, talking about rules, I saw something interesting in the recent happenings. It's real local. A place in Dallas was selling prepackaged Advent beers. It was like a 12-pack of Advent beers. They were wrapped up so you didn't know what you were getting. And TABC stepped in and said, no, you can't do that. Because then the consumer didn't know it was some technical
Well, it's a
law.
good
but
thing. I mean, I sleep better at night
but
knowing that
more
TABC
power to
is
the
out there.
TABC,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah. Well, maybe they were trying to get rid of that shitty German one I had.
Yeah, it might be. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Most half of those beers were awful.
Those were.
The other half were pretty damn good, but the other half were pretty bad.
Was that the
lot of them are
Costco
old.
Advent count? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple out of there I liked.
Yeah, but there was a lot of. I think.
There
I
was-
think the problem with is most of them were really old.
Yeah.
Well, as with most import beer.
All
I mean,
right.
Yikes.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
that covers that. We'll get back to Mikey's trip to Dublin in the second half. Chris has something.
We had one other recent happening. It was the decision between Pabst and Miller Coors.
Oh
wanna
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about that?
that's right.
Heard about that.
I didn't read exactly
Okay,
what
so-
the
yeah,
what the
what's going
details
on
are.
with that?
So what had happened is that Pabst Blue Ribbon, along with several other what they call blue collar brews, like Old English and a bunch of like Milwaukee's Best, things like that, were being contract brewed by Miller Coors, and they
I
have
think that was even including Lone Star.
yeah, Lone Star was included in
Yes.
that. So Miller Coors has been contract brewing for all these companies, and they're coming towards the end of their 20-year contract. But in the contract, they have an option to extend the contract, and Miller Coors is trying to cut them off.
Yeah, they were going to stop brewing Pabst, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
So they were essentially, they took them to court saying that Miller Coors was trying to put them out of business by ending the contract brews with them.
Miller is they're jealous of their blue ribbon. Is all it is.
Yeah, obviously.
It won that competition
your ass
one
they
time
are.
way
right.
back.
Right.
One
Used
time.
to just be Pabst.
Yeah. One
Then-
time you win
yeah.
something, and now you're blue ribbon beer.
Yeah. Miller doesn't have a blue ribbon, and so they got mad.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not Miller blue ribbon. It's
Right.
Pabst.
Pabst Blue Ribbon. Personally, I was going to be a little sad if they quit brewing it. I like Pabst Blue Ribbon.
That's my ski trip
I
beer.
drink it during
And
the summer. Yeah.
I drink the
Yeah,
shit
when
out
I
of
was
it.
on the road, you know, as a musician, that's all we drank.
Yeah.
was PBR, like all day long. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can drink it and drink it and drink it and drink it and still function.
Oh yeah, I was a drummer, so I was like, man, I'm not getting drunk. This is nice. I love this
so
beer.
great.
Well, yeah. Anytime I've gone to any of those bars over there on Barry by TCU, that's all the
Oh,
frat
yeah,
boys are
yeah,
drinking. It's all
absolutely.
PBR,
Yeah.
Yeah.
at like $2 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot. All these guys start drinking it and shit, and it goes up. It used to be cheap.
I was
Yeah.
about to say $2. I got it for like 50 cents, man.
Well, you know, a couple
These
years
were the
ago,
TCU bars, you know.
Remember when High Life was like $3 a 6-pack? I mean, shit.
a few
Man.
years ago when we did the Miller Coors brewery tour with the cap
Oh,
and
yeah.
hair, the guy on that tour was telling us that Pabst was going away with the frat boy crowd, and it was. I think it was Schlitz or Hams was the one that was becoming. I think it was Hams, actually.
I don't see
Yeah.
that down here.
I don't think it lasted because I haven't seen it for a long time. But he was telling us at the time that was the big one.
Schmitty's. Jeez.
I happen to like that.
Hey
the-
man,
the-
when I was
the
in
Keystone
college though,
Light.
I could get Pearl long necks for $9 a case.
Yeah, on the
Nice.
West Coast for us, it was Lucky Lager. They came in
Lucky,
little. They
yeah.
came in little short 11-ounce
Uh-huh.
bottles, and a 12-pack of it was like $4 or something like that. It was ridiculous cheap. But I think you had to drink 2 12-packs of it to get where you were going. So
Awesome.
okay, so let's get into our main topic here. We got the guys here from Panther Island Brewing, which.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day.
Did it
Y'all
hurt?
are probably one of the more tenured breweries in Dallas Fort Worth, right? You've been around longer than most breweries.
Well,
around
yeah,
here,
we're
haven't you?
about to celebrate our 4-year anniversary, December 7th.
Is it?
next
I thought
Friday.
it was longer than that. Okay,
No.
okay, but yeah, we've had such an explosion in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
There's so many breweries out there that have only been around a very short time.
Yep.
Seems like Panther Island's been a fixture in Fort Worth for quite a while. So we're going to talk about Sweet Stout today because you've got your Sweet Fang, which is the peanut butter stout, which is peanut butter milk stout, I guess.
Yes, sir.
And
chocolate peanut butter milk stout, right?
Yeah.
chocolate peanut butter milk stout. Sorry, it was in the intro too. It's right
Get
here
it
in front of me
right.
in writing.
Jesus, Brandon.
It's been a long week.
Thanks a lot, Brandon. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a dick. So.
More
It's fine.
rules.
He's never had it until tonight, so don't worry, you guys.
No, actually, we were drinking it last week.
Yeah.
Or last show, we were
kidding.
drinking Sweet Fang.
So,
send
so
some
I'm going
over
to
here. I want
preface this
some.
by the last time I drank beer with Ryan. It was in Nashville.
Oh
and,
man.
That was the picture that was
Oh,
just up
man.
on the TV, right? With you and
Yeah.
Austin and Ryan. Yeah, there we
Yeah.
go.
So let me tell you what happened right after this picture. Stubby
Vomited.
drug us to a bar and
House of Ill Repute.
oh yeah. And he wanted to sing like songs and everything. Like it was crazy. He was
wow, I don't even remember that.
destined to get us to a karaoke bar and so yeah, Stubby was up there singing all kinds of songs.
I got
and
friends
stuff,
in low
yeah.
places.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we
Stubby
did
got
we,
crazy.
so we did end up in a really seedy part of Nashville that we shouldn't
Yes,
have been.
we did.
And,
Yeah, at a
and
Waffle House.
and a Waffle House. And I think it was like a week or two before that they had that shooting there at the Waffle House in Nashville.
Yeah, so if you'll remember, it was the guy who came and grabbed the gun,
Yeah.
and
Oh
fought
yeah,
the-
yeah. He was a hero in
Yeah.
the Waffle House hero. That's right.
it was
I
it
think
was
it
that
was-
Waffle House we went to. Yeah,
The Waffle House
Yeah.
hero.
yeah. So me
Anyway.
and Stubby and Austin went there and for a late night dinner, nice dinner.
Yes.
We were
Nice sit down dinner.
we were pretty sober. I mean,
Yeah,
we
pretty
were
sober.
pretty sober.
Yeah.
I think we ordered 13 pancakes each.
Still high off of Stubby's one-man rendition of Bohemian
And
Rhapsody.
they got super mad when we ordered pancakes rather than waffles. So,
This is not the international
yeah,
house of pancakes.
yeah. So that was a good night. Yeah.
You know it's a good night if you wind up at a Waffle House in the shady part of town. Like that's
No
a
way,
hell of a
man.
night.
Yeah.
Something's gone horribly wrong if you're in a Waffle House at all.
That's true. Period. Any time of
And
day.
so
We-
I want to breathe
funny
cigarette
thing
smoke,
is
but I don't want to actually smoke.
Brock was with us too, and Brock, I said, "Hey, Brock, are you?" We were standing on the street. Are you coming with us to eat pancakes or whatever? And he was sitting there talking to a girl smoking a cigarette, and Austin. This is so out of character for Austin. He goes, "What are you gonna do? Stay with that prostitute?" It pissed Brock off. That's hilarious.
Well, yeah, he cock blocked him right there in the middle of the street.
Oh yeah.
And at that point, Brock was like, "No, I'm not, because I now stand no chance."
He stayed with her, so
Yeah. Who knows what happened?
he just had to pay twice as much.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a night.
This
to
is
remember.
early in the show for us to be in this
I know, right?
in this place.
Man.
We got a slow
All right.
clap from the other
All
room
right,
and everything.
Let's slow it down. Let's slow it down.
Our refrigeration tech is giving us a slow clap in there.
How about some Sweet Fang?
Okay, so let's get into Sweet Stout. I guess we want to talk about it as a style in general, and then we can kind of get into putting peanut butter and chocolate and all that good stuff into it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think,
Let's
right?
do it. Yeah.
So the overall impression on a Sweet Stout is a very dark, sweet, full-bodied, slightly roasty ale that can suggest coffee and cream or sweetened espresso. The aroma is mild and roasted grain aroma, sometimes with coffee or chocolate notes. An impression of a cream-like sweetness often exists. Fruitiness can be low to moderately high, diacetyl low to none, hop aroma low to none, floral or earthy notes. So basically, you're talking about a big, full-bodied stout with lactose or milk sugar in it.
Some residual sweetness, yeah.
Residual sweetness, and I think for the most part, the ones that I've had, you're going to end up with a fairly pronounced chocolate note, kind of like a porter. You know, it's kind of an in between of a porter and a stout, and then the body on it is ramped way up. I would be willing to bet that almost all milk stouts are going to finish 10-20 or higher. I would guess, right?
I think guideline shows like 18.
10,
but
18?
It's probably
Okay.
like I remember initially.
I guess I could look at it here before I say that.
When we put out our Sweet Stout kit, I think we had made a mistake on the box, and we had said it was going to finish drier, and people kept calling up, hey, you know, this thing is it's at 1020. You know, where's it going? I'm like, no, that's where it's supposed to be. And so we had to change the box label.
Well, what it was is because you
we hadn't equated out.
Beersmith didn't account for the non-fermentability of the lactose, right?
Yeah,
it was counting it as fermentable, right?
You can actually click it on or off.
Yeah. Since you've told me that, I've gone back and looked, and sure enough, in fact, I think that I had it clicked as fermentable in a couple of recipes.
Yeah, so
the guidelines are saying 10-12 to 10-24. 10-12 seems like it'd be a pretty thin-bodied.
Yeah, 10-12 is way too.
I don't know how you can put lactose in something and get it down that low.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, you know, anyone can judge, you know, the beer and do whatever, but to me, that 10-12 was way too thin, in my opinion. But Sweet Fang finishes out about 10-24. So
that's about where I would see 10-20, 10-24 is where I think the majority of them are going to end up landing. Yeah. So we got a couple bottles here of left-hand milk stout, which is one of the classic styles in the guidelines.
Are we not going to talk about the Sweet Fang that we all have been drinking?
No, we're going to.
We're going to.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the style.
We'll get there, bro.
I was going to say, because
we'll get there, bro.
But man, I love this beer. Like, I love the peanut butter in this beer.
We want to talk about the style in general, and then we're going to talk about the fun things you can do with it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good palate for additional flavors.
And I'd almost say that when you're dealing with some of these two, especially now, you could almost call it a dessert stout. Or
absolutely.
A pastry stout.
Confectionery stout, pastry stouts. I've seen that. That style.
Some of them can get really sweet, too.
Yeah, and I think that if you're talking just a straight sweet stout, I think that's a mistake that some people make as they make them too sweet. They put too much lactose in. Personally, I think 1 pound of lactose in a 5-gallon batch is about the most you want to go. Normally, I'll do a half pound is about where I land on it. You can do up to a pound. Any more than that, and you're really adding a lot of sweetness. I know Stubby's talked about this before, that lactose by itself kind of has an odd flavor.
It does.
So if you put enough in there where the lactose itself, the flavor from it stands out, it's kind of an odd flavor. You're really just wanting to leave some unfermented sugars in there that add sweetness and body to it. And that's really all it is, just unfermentable milk sugar.
Well, I hadn't had this in a long time.
That's really good.
It's
yeah,
better than I remember.
Yeah, it's very good.
Actually went to their facility 2 years ago, and we went on a tour that was like 2 hours long.
Wow.
It was a nice tour, but man, by the end of it, I was like, I'm ready for like 5 beers now. But it was really informative. It was awesome.
This beer, too, is the one that really got us started on the diastaticus discussion with Kevin Lane, because this is the one that they were saying. I don't know whatever ended up happening with this.
I didn't either.
That they sued White Labs saying that there was diastaticus in their English ale yeast strain. And so it was fermenting the lactose in the bottle and creating bottle bombs, basically. And
gushers.
And so that, it seems like since then, diastaticus has become.
It makes me wonder if they didn't settle.
Yeah, well, let me use the Google button on the internet machine while we're.
Well, you would think that we would have
talking
heard
about
something.
left-hand milk stout right now.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Left-hand milk stout.
But
oh man,
yeah, they had. But there was a couple other breweries, I believe, was in
there.
that
There
too.
are other that had jumped on that lawsuit, so it wasn't an isolated thing.
But we always talked about it too, and it would be a difficult thing to prove unless they had uncapped, like
Yeah, a sealed thing of,
Yeah.
of yeast that they could.
yeast that they could send off for evaluation. That's the only way I could think that they actually had proof that it did have that in that. But that would be disastrous for this beer if you got that in there, because it would just totally ruin it.
Well, and, with the Sweet Stout, one of the things we talk about, especially in the shop, is people come in all the time saying, I want to brew, and they come up with some crazy beer that they want to make. That's fine, but you got to learn a style. You got to figure out what style you can brew it with, and you got to be able to brew that style well. You can't just start with, I'm going to make a peanut butter beer, and then go, okay, well, now I'm gonna throw peanut butter in whatever beer I know how to make. You got to figure out what beer is going to go well in, and you got to brew that base style well.
Yeah, I think that any beer, like you were saying, like brew it well. Get your base beer down really well. Not only on the hot side, but on the cold side as well. Fermentation, where you want your numbers to end up. And then go from there. After you brew just the base beer and you're happy with the taste, the texture, the body, and everything, then go from there and add your additions. Add anything else.
Well, and I think even from that, if you do start adding your stuff in at that point, you might want to go back and change your recipe to fit those additions as well.
And part of dialing the recipe in is you'll get a feel for, this is where I'm getting this sweetness or this flavor profile from, and maybe I want to lower my mash temp a little bit to drop the overall gravity, because the chocolate and the peanut butter I'm going to put in it are going to add sweetness as well. So I want to dry it out a little bit, or add body, or whatever that may be.
Or you might want to back off on some of the chocolate or roast malt, because you're getting some of that from the coffee, or if you're getting it, or if you're putting coffee in it, or or if you're putting chocolate or anything like that, because you can get some residual bitterness from all that stuff.
Take that recipe that you know how to brew well, and then what additional flavors will complement, or even contrast. What can you put in there to contrast what you have? You don't always have to complement. You can contrast as well, but you want it to work.
And then just take your time too. Don't rush anything. Like, take your time. What will work if I do add a fruit, in secondary fermentation? But if there's yeast still left in, and it'll ferment out some of that yeast, or fruit, take your time and really see what happens there too, if you have something like that going on. So. Yeah,
and especially with something this complex, where you've got several different layers of flavor to it, once you get to making your other additions, if it doesn't come out how you want it and you need to make adjustments to it, you need to know exactly what flavors are coming from what to be able to adjust it correctly too. Right. So you have to get really familiar with it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, kind of to your point, is start with a great base recipe. When I very first started home brewing, Sandra, she always wanted to jack with stuff. Like, I was the one that, I wanted this big hoppy, like, IPA or something, but Sandra was the one that, after we had Sweet Fang, it was a good 6 months later, she was like, I want to do a peanut butter beer. And I was like, okay. So when we started looking at it, we went with the milk stout that we sell at the shop as the base. And then, because we knew that was a solid base, that was a proven recipe, so then we jacked with that. So
I might be biased on that.
Well, and Mikey, your mint stout is a milk stout with mint in it.
Yeah,
right?
I brewed a sweet stout a couple times, and I thought, I want to go somewhere a little ridiculous with it, and so I did chocolate mint. And then I talked to James Lalonde after he tried it, and he's like, dude, you're making a candy beer. Make it a candy beer. So we raised the ABV. We put a couple pounds of lactose in it. I mean, we went over the top with it, but you go over the top with that particular recipe that I do, and it just works. So it's kind of fun.
So let's talk about the Sweet Fang then. Is everybody done with their left hand here? We can start pouring some.
I'm out of Sweet Fang.
I didn't know you had to start with.
Yeah,
so
I think you're the only one that didn't get one.
I got one sitting here. I was waiting. I'm a good dog. I've been trained. I'll let the treat sit on my nose for a while. So let's talk about the recipe development on the Sweet Fang as we're getting into and drinking it. So obviously you had a Sweet Stout recipe that you began with and then added to it, as we were talking about, right?
Yeah. It really came from really just eating a Reese's peanut butter cup,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
being like, man, I really want this, not only in liquid form but in beer form. So I started, researching stouts, because I thought maybe a stout would be good. No, that doesn't have, enough body or enough anything. So I started looking into milk stouts, and to get that creaminess to accent the cocoa nibs. I think the lactose really accents that too. So I went with the milk stout recipe, and I just went from there and
So
came up with the
one of the things I'll
recipe.
say about this beer is that I think that the different flavors in it accent each other, actually enhance each other. I think the peanut butter brings out a different flavor in the chocolate, and the chocolate brings out a different flavor in the peanut butter. I get like a Cocoa Puffs or a Cocoa Pebbles kind of sugary, chocolatey sweetness out of it.
Yeah, a lot. So what I love when people say when they drink this is it's like eating Cocoa Puff cereal and then drinking the milk afterwards.
Yeah.
That's what I want from this beer.
Right. No, it's you're dead on with that.
That's what I was going for. I wanted a nice thick milk stout, and one that I can't even drink, 3, to be honest, because it's really thick. But that's what a lot of people say is it's like drinking the milk after like Cocoa Puffs or whatever.
Well, and what are you doing for your peanut butter? Are you using the extract?
I am using extract. So I tried, was it PB2?
PB2.
I tried that in a few pilot batches, and I got this super roasted peanut butter flavor that I didn't like. If anyone else use it, that's fine. But I just got a peanut butter flavor that I didn't enjoy. It was like a roasted like peanut butter that I didn't think that paired well with the beer that I was brewing.
Well,
so.
I've had some beers from some homebrewers that use the PB2, and to me, you get just a salty peanut.
Yes.
That's all you get. It's salty peanut, and I go, okay, well, I can kind of see where you're going with this, but you pick up that peanut butter extract, and it's straight up like classic, almost Jif peanut butter.
I think the PB2 is real unstable too. John and Jenny did a beer with it.
That's one I've had.
I had it at a meeting. It was great. Loved it. Then I judged Master Brewer a couple weeks later, and I saw a peanut butter stout, and I thought, oh, I bet I know whose that is. And I drank it and went, oh, I must have been wrong because this isn't the same beer at all. It had like a cola taste to it. The peanut butter had dropped out and it was weird, and I trashed them on the score sheet. And then, so they ambushed me at the next meeting, like, "Hey, man, you destroyed our beer," and I'm like, "That was yours? I'm surprised." And they gave it to me, and I said, "No, see, this tastes good." And then John came up to me at the next meeting. He goes, I was thinking you were full of shit. And then I went home and opened one, and sure enough, it tasted just like what you wrote on the score sheet. They were real inconsistent. They didn't seem to store real well.
I can tell you, out of all the people that I know have used PB2 in beer, I've never had anybody go, "Oh yeah, it's perfect. It works great." They always come in complaining about it.
I've had some good ones, but like John and Jenny's was
and it's
really
really
good,
expensive too.
Yeah, it is pretty expensive.
So talking, you made a great point that the peanut butter fades. I brought in a peanut butter temptress, which fresh to me it was
so good.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was everything that Sweet Fang is, but just a bigger version. Now this one's from the end of July. The peanut butter has very much faded. It's still good. I still get a little bit of the peanut butter on the back end, but it's nowhere near like it was 3 months ago, 4 months ago when it was fresh.
Well,
so I was saying, can you how do you keep the peanut butter fresh?
Well, here's the thing on that. One of my, I still consider him one of my awesome friends, Chris Tidwell. He worked for me for about 8 months, and he was not about extract on anything. And so he taught me so much about, barrel aging, funky beers, and then fruit beers and everything. So really utilizing that stuff. And so when it came time to brew Sweet Fang, when he was with us, he questioned the fact that we used peanut butter extract. And but we came to the decision that extract was the way to go on the peanut butter end, because it stuck with it, and as long as you and Chris said it well, as long as you use it the way it needs to be used,
Right.
it can really benefit you.
Yeah.
But if you go overboard with it, it's awful.
Well, and that's a really
he
interesting
taught
point.
me a lot about additions, and so
Because I was going to say the amount that you're using in here is probably my favorite thing about the beer. What was that raw anniversary beer that was a couple years? The coconut, was it a Russian Imperial Stout with the roasted
maybe.
coconut in it?
Maybe.
may have been a-
maybe.
Now, in that beer, I remember the coconut didn't stand out front to you, but what it did do was enhance the chocolate flavor that was in the beer, and really,
Right.
So you could pick out the coconut in it, but it wasn't out front. But it really just made some other flavors pop, and I feel like the peanut butter is like that in this one too. The peanut butter is there; you can taste it, but I think it's really enhancing the chocolate flavors a lot,
right.
and I like that about it.
And I think that's if you do use extract, use it correctly, and know your additions. Don't just put 4 ounces in 5 gallons.
Yeah.
And
Pull
blindly.
off. Pull off 6 ounces and use your milliliter pipette, and really get to know your beer there, and then go from there.
Well, and I'm also, one of the things that I tell a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I want to use real fruit. Okay, cool. Well, that's fine. If you don't get quite the flavor that you want, maybe just use these extracts in order to enhance that flavor a little bit. Even though you're still getting a big portion of the flavor from the fruit, you can just kind of enhance it a little bit.
And it won't be, full extract. It'll just the real fruit that you did use in secondary. It'll bring that out to the front.
Just make it pop.
Well,
Yes,
and they're all
it'll make it
natural.
pop.
The flavorings that we get, they're all natural. It's not like it's artificially made in a lab somewhere where they know
Correct.
that
Yeah.
this chemical and this chemical combine taste or smell like this. They're natural flavorings.
Most
that
of
they're
them are,
doing.
and here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, they're mostly alcohol.
yeah. It's a tincture is what those are.
Well, I think the thing about using extracts is that there's kind of a sliding scale on it. Depending on how difficult the ingredient is to get into the beer, that's when you need to rely on extracts
like
a little bit.
Peach.
Peaches, watermelon, strawberry, stuff like that. That's mostly water. It's really difficult to get in.
You have to use
if
a
you try to
lot
be
of those.
stubborn and just use the fruit, you're going to end up with adverse effects from trying to just use the fruit.
Right.
And peanut butter, I mean, what are you going to do? Put peanut butter in your beer? I mean, you
can.
have to use some sort of extract.
Well,
It's the oil content.
And so here's where I came to the conclusion after I did 3 batches with PB2 and still got the roasted, the weird flavor that I got from that. I didn't like it. So I researched.
And on that, when I have home brewers come in, they're asking about PB2. I tell them you get more of a peanut flavor, while with the extract you get more the peanut butter that they're looking for. Is what I've read. I've never used the PB2, but I've read it's more a peanut, like you said, more the roasty kind of.
It really is, or really like a nut, roasted nut.
It's like a peanut you get at a ballpark
Yes.
kind of flavor.
Yeah.
Well, and having done protein shakes or whatnot, and using PB2 in a protein shake, that's what you get. You don't get peanut butter. You get peanut. You know, it's like, oh, there's peanut in this, not creamy, sweet, silky peanut butter.
Right. And so when I was trying to develop Sweet Fang, I went through a few extract companies, and the 2 that I used in the preliminary process of this, they were super oily, and so it murdered my head retention, and I just hated it, and it also gave me like a weird roasted peanut butter flavor, and so
well, the cure to that is to go with the
even the
100% Carapils base malt.
right, yeah,
That's a rule, by the way.
It would definitely be chewy.
yeah,
Um,
right.
Sorry.
now I forgot what I was going to say now. God damn it.
Jeebus.
Way to go, man.
I instantly felt bad about that one, but
Anyway, so did you get to try Justin? He made the clone.
Dude,
I
that is
haven't-
good.
Yeah,
Is this Is this what
Yeah.
I'm
So this is
drinking?
this is
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
this
this
is
is
the
amazing.
the homebrew kit that we're gonna
Yeah.
sell.
That we actually have now on our
yeah.
website. It launched today.
Yeah, I did.
Like,
This is really good.
like
there may or may
Yeah,
not
it
be a
is.
coupon code coming up for that.
Yeah, may or may
like
not
they're
be.
they're
That's what we call
spot
a
on.
tease in the biz.
I think that's pretty damn close, right?
Oh yeah, this is real spot on.
Like well done, Justin. I mean,
So
like,
so
wow.
what did you use? Let me. No,
Yeah,
that
we've
is-
got all
that
this
is
beer sitting around. I
really-
look over there. There's a keg. I'm like, oh my god!
I know. I started laughing.
No, that those.
Justin's over there doing a keg stand. And
Now, Justin, was this the extract or the all grain version?
That's the partial.
The partial.
Partial.
Okay. So it did
Yeah,
have some
I-
extract in it.
I
So
think you
that's
did
still-
a
that's damn
really
good.
really well
With the extract.
well
yeah.
done job. Yeah, this is.
Is this the one we did at Learn to Homebrew?
learn to
Day?
homebrew.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah,
Turned out great,
That's
man.
good, man. Yeah.
it's really good.
And that's one of the things that we learned too over the years is that, and that's why if you guys buy any extract kits that we do, they all have DME in them now. We don't do we actually are discontinuing our
Thank God.
bulk liquid malt extract just because it's even the stuff that we were getting in to the store was discolored and I had some oxidation and stuff like that too. So we just and because so many people are doing brew in a bag and stuff like that too, it wasn't doing much turnover. So we went with the extract. And I mean I never
I've always liked dry better anyway.
And I'll be real honest with you, I couldn't tell that was. There's no way in hell I would have ever known that was extract beer right there.
No.
Tastes great. So
You know,
Cheers, kudos.
this peanut butter Temptress that you brought, I can't believe this is only from July. It tastes like a 1.5-year old bottle that was stored in a garage.
Yeah.
It's like it tastes really old and the peanut butter has really dropped out of it. Yeah, it's July. It's July of this year.
Yeah, it's definitely
The
faded
end
on
of
that
July.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it faded. This was a beer that faded very quickly. I mean, it went from Sandra and I bought several 4-packs because we loved it to all of a sudden, oh shit, this last 4-pack, like it dropped like within probably 2 months or so.
Yeah, because I've had this before and I really liked it. And this bottle it tastes like you stored it in a hot garage. Really. I mean, so.
Our bedroom at room temp.
So
I've had it.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Are you saying this beer has seen a lot of things?
That's it's traumatized beer.
or maybe your brewing closet.
Yikes.
But going back,
Sorry, I couldn't
I mean, I
Oh.
think that it's important to know your quantities of what you're adding.
So are you adding
to-
the extract post fermentation then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something we
Post-fermentation.
really encourage people to do. In fact, in our Iron Mash team this year, we just decided why even take a chance with anything? We'll just add it all post fermentation. It doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
did you have extract?
No, just
No,
our
they had-
our
they-
extra ingredients.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and we did a whole show on it with
Mike, yeah.
Mike Treadway,
Yeah.
and it's the making
Micro additions.
micro additions or small changes to
Making
your
small
beer.
changes, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about, just like Ryan said, get a measured glass. Pull out a measured amount of your fermented in secondary beer. Go to Walmart, CVS, whatever drugstore you've got in your local town, and buy a medication syringe. Buy a 10 ml medication syringe, and get one of these extracts and pull out, 0.1 or 2 ml. Add it to your measured amount of beer, and then taste it. Okay, is it enough? Add a little bit more. Figure out what it takes to get what flavor you want.
And then not only you do that, add your friends or
Yeah.
whoever
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like let them try it too, because you might say, "Oh, this is great,"
yeah.
but then you try, and then your 5 friends be like, "Oh man, this is way too
Kidnap
much."
your
Well,
neighbor,
it's
tie him
like,
to a chair. Force him to
I
taste
read
it.
that. So Ben and Jerry's, one of them has a disorder where he doesn't taste things as prominently. So that's why Ben and Jerry's, all their flavors are so prominent. It's because he wants to taste them. So they overdo all their flavors in their ice cream just for for him.
Well, I think the post fermentation thing is homebrewers get stuck on this. You know, like you were talking earlier, the idea of not using extracts. You get stuck on that, and you just have this idea in your head that I just don't want to do that or whatever. And you know, as brewers, we want to do things on the hot side all the time. The hot side is the fun part of brewing. Let's face it. You know, mashing, boiling, putting additions in, all that shit. And we do it because we feel like, yeah, this is the real way to do it. Now I'm really brewing. And if I add it in afterwards, that's not really brewing. Man,
No.
I like when my beer comes out exactly like I want it to come out. So
I would say this, though, on certain spice additions, it does make a
You're
huge difference
Oh, yeah.
when you add it.
and so you do it for a reason, not just because,
Right.
you know.
There's an article out there, I don't remember, and it was like he showed this guy, he did 10 different ways to do coriander in beer. You know, by somebody like toasting it and crushing it, not crushing it.
That's a tricky one, man. Coriander can be tough.
And adding it at the 20 minutes of the boil, into the boil, whirlpool, and they all had different flavors. I mean, completely different flavors. So, I mean, there is something to that. But the great thing about those extracts is it does allow you to control how much you put in exactly. Yeah. Because you can do it right at bottling day, for that matter, or kegging day, or even after you keg it, you can add some. You know, so that's the great tool that you have in your toolbox there.
It's such an easy way to add flavor. I mean, and like you said earlier, you know, if you want to make a peach pale ale and you put a bunch of peaches in your secondary, and then you go to taste it and there's no peach flavor, well, add the peach extract, you know,
just to prop it up
and dose it,
just to give it a little bit of depth. Yeah.
Well, and talking about dosing it, like one of our really early extract beers, Sandra had this crazy idea that we were going to do a rose water orange blossom saison, and it's one of those. What? How the hell do you even like dose that? So she literally did the whole dropper method, where it measured it out with the orange blossom, with the rose water, and that's still like that was probably 3 years ago that we brewed that, and my dad still talks about that beer, about how great that saison was.
If you made rosewater work, kudos to you.
Hey, that was all Sandra. Like I said, I came home from work one day and she's like, "Yeah, I want to use rosewater and orange blossom in a beer." And I'm like, "What the hell? Like, what? No, like that's just weird." But it actually turned out it was a damn good. The saison was a great base for that, so it turned out really good.
Yeah, I mean, using rose, man.
What was that
you
last
can get
one we just had?
perfume.
The first slipper.
Oh, it was the
First
first
slipper.
Yeah, so we've got the first slipper from Hop Fusion going around. It's an Imperial Milk Stout. Really fantastic beer, I think.
Matt heard we were doing Sweet Stouts, or so he says, you know, and brought us some beer. So we have this one. We also have the Coco Anejo, which is their coconut.
Oh man,
coconut version of the first slipper.
One of my favorites and my wife's favorites.
So, so on this beer, I think this one really highlights well the idea that the lactose in it and the residual sweetness is supposed to be an accent to the flavor that's there. This one doesn't taste like a big sweet lactose bomb. It's got the chocolate and the roast and a little bit of coffee flavor to it, and the lactose kind of props that up.
You know, and I have to say this. I don't like the flavor of lactose. If I can taste it, gross. I don't think it tastes good, because I think you can put too much of it. And, and when the power kind of, I mean, that lactose flavor kind of dominates the flavor, it's kind of gross.
Right. You're not supposed to taste it.
It tastes kind of funky.
Right. What does it taste like? What is the profile on it? Like
it's kind of it's like a not very sweet sugar, but it does have like a little funkiness to it. I mean, but
funky bitter sugar type.
It's kind of weird
thing. Yeah.
I'd say it becomes sort of tangy.
Tangy.
Yeah, and almost like a non-dairy creamer kind of flavor.
Okay, exactly.
Like maybe an expired, like you know, heavy whipped cream expired.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it too. So
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange flavor. So I think if you put that 2 up front rather than to accentuate the flavor, it can kind of like it kind of make it taste funky. Or almost like, you know, like it's not good or it's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not
it's
like
not good, it's bad
or something.
Yeah.
I like the graham cracker.
I know what you're saying. No, you're exactly right about that.
These
like
graham crackers.
Like you actually put milk in it and then the milk went bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, Yeah, I think that's something that you have to be really careful with, and how you use lactose.
Yeah. The other thing is the drinkability thing. You got to, you're trying to make a big, chewy, bold beer, but you don't want to struggle to get through 1 pint of it. If you're doing that,
Right.
you've gone overboard, and you need to dial it back some. And we talked
Hey,
a little
man,
bit
if
with
you're
the
lactose intolerant, man.
Yeah,
your
that's
wife
why
will
we
hate you.
we have signs up at the brewery that if you're gonna drink Sweet Fang, it's,
That's
if you're lactose intolerant, don't drink this. If you're peanut, if you have an allergy, then
gosh.
don't drink that.
Don't die Lardion.
Yeah, don't die early on.
You say that, and actually, I saw a WeldWorks post something a couple days ago. They have a peanut butter beer coming out, and somebody commented, they're like, "I'll be sure to bring 2 EpiPens just in case," and because they were like, "It sounds fabulous." And WeldWorks actually replied to it. They're like, "Hey, we'll provide the EpiPen for you. Just come on down,
Yeah.
God, that's ridiculous.
I have a family member that's
Sounds like a
lactose
liability
intolerant, but
nightmare.
they love Sweet Fang so much that he takes a pill and then he'll drink, at least a can of it, and he's like, "I don't care, I love it so much."
she's going to be the one to pay the price. I'll be fast asleep.
Yeah.
I had an ex that was lactose intolerant and loved cheese, so she just popped the lactate every time she ate a meal.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And it only works a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
just a
yeah,
little bit.
but you can go away to the bathroom for now.
Honey, put your head under the sheets. I'm going to spit on the ceiling.
Well, let's get away from farts and let's get back to beer. Let's
Get back to beer,
Let's
yes,
get back to beer, everyone.
Yeah, so
I don't know. When you're talking homebrew, it's going to end up at farts at some point.
That is
It's
true.
inevitable.
It's gonna happen.
Dude,
Yeah, like,
have you ever been to National Homebrew Conference? It's like walking.
is it full of farts or what?
Apparently, it's just a big fart.
You know how
You
if
just
your
walk from one cloud to the next, dude.
you know how if your house is burning, you're supposed to get down on the floor to stay under the smoke.
No,
You
I've
really
never
should
been in a burning
Do
house.
a little. You've never seen the video about get down on the floor?
Come
under
on,
the
drop
man.
and roll, or
Yeah, it's like that at homebrew con. You,
Oh my
you
God,
get
dude.
down
It's just
below
like,
the cloud.
No, I'm a man, and I'll put my own house out. I'll just get my water hose and put it out.
I don't want to hear about your water hose.
I just breathe up all the
weird.
smoke.
Man, I'm telling you.
Oh man.
Anywho,
off the rails.
back to
Children.
Back to Sweet Stouts.
Back to Sweet Stouts. Okay.
Hop
Where did we-
Fusion.
where did
let's
we
let's
leave
break
off?
into this.
Where's the
What is
Coco
that?
Anejo?
Right here.
Yeah.
Ooh, that one's my
man.
favorite.
So
My wife
Ryan,
loves this beer.
you saying that? What is your experience using coconut in beer? I've used coconut several times, and to me, it's hit and miss. It's hard to work with. I've found it cuts head retention.
I have never used it in any of my beers, so
You have
So
to-
you're just a fan of it. You just don't use
I
it.
love it. Yeah,
You have to
Same.
toast it
Fan.
because
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing with pecans too, though. And that's another thing that's really that's not pecans out there, you guys. It's pecans.
Pecan like
Either way, they're disgusting and should be banned from the universe.
pecan like toucan.
Mikey, you're not a fan of pecans?
Pecans are awesome.
No.
But anyway, that is not something. I mean, it's you gotta be worried about the oil content.
Yeah.
Because it can and that's
That'll
a
kill
really
you.
but that's another thing that's kind of like peanut butter. I think the pecan it can really be difficult to use in beer. And the reason being is if you ever eaten them as a kid and you're shelling them yourself and you get that you accidentally get part of the shell in your mouth and you get that kind of
it's
real
a
bitter.
texture thing.
bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get that with just pecans too.
Have y'all
so-
ever heard about using the bark off a pecan tree and then even the shell off of a pecan in a beer? Have y'all ever heard about that?
No.
No.
So, again, mentioning Chris Tidwell, he likes to use that kind of stuff. He used
Right.
bark off of a pecan tree and then used the shell in pecan and not the meat in the pecan too.
Right.
Yeah, and it really did.
Pretty good job.
Yeah, he did a saison, and it gave us a really nice.
It had an
Like,
actual
pecan.
pecan flavor to
Yeah.
it. Really?
Huh.
That's
Well, and,
interesting.
there's stuff like that you can use too for like, for example, maple syrup flavor. We actually carry it in the store. Do you remember what it's called? It's like one of the main spices that's used in curry. what was it called, Mikey? You did all the spice descriptions. It's a little seeds, but it actually they use this to make
Cardamom?
No, it's
They
not
actually
cardamom.
use this. They actually use this seed to actually make fake maple syrup.
It's
Oh yeah, y'all
fenugreek.
talked about
Fenugreek.
that.
Fenugreek. Yeah,
Fenugreek.
yeah. Most maple beers and most fake maple syrups,
Which are corn
pretty
syrup
much
with this.
It's
90
corn syrup with this.
90% of anything that says it's maple flavored is going to be fenugreek, unless you're getting like 100% maple syrup. So any of the breweries that are probably doing a maple,
They may
like
be
the
using
maple
that
bacon
seed.
beers and stuff, they're using fenugreek. Yeah, we've
I have a
got
big
that.
barrel of it in my front yard. I
Do
call
you?
it my
Yeah.
maple tree.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
You got a maple
It's a true
tree?
story.
You don't got a maple tree in Texas.
No, he's got a
got no
barrel in his
maple
front
tree.
yard.
You ain't
I
got
use
no
it- why
maple
use it-
tree.
He's just got a maple barrel in his front yard.
Oh, there we go.
Oh snap! What is that?
Bring the show to a halt. This is a break time beer.
Yeah. No, so this is another. I've gotten in trouble with this beer many times.
Yeah,
Oh,
you and I got in
you-
trouble with
Th-
this
th-
one.
th- this is one of the variants. So
beer?
this is the banana coconut. What
Is
we
this
just
the-
cracked is we just cracked Dragon Milk by New Holland, and we cracked the banana coconut variant of it, which just hit distro here in Texas in the last week or so.
You know, I saw this on the shelf the other day, and I grabbed the regular Dragon's Milk instead because I just banana and beer.
It smells like Laffy Taffies.
Yeah, it smells just like that.
Did you just say Balaffy Taffies?
Laffy Taffies, yeah.
I think Stubby just said Balaffy.
Blaffy
Taffies.
Taffy.
What is a Balaffy?
It tastes like Laffy Taffy.
It does taste like
I think a Balaffy Taffy is a bourbon barrel aged Laffy Taffy.
Yeah,
That's
there you
that's
go.
That's
I
very
mean-
similar to what it is at 12% ABV or
Like
so.
like every
That's what they
every
give out in Halloween in rich neighborhoods.
Okay,
Oh man!
every day on shift, I go
smells
to the,
like-
Full
It
bars.
smells like Laffy Taffy, right?
yeah, every day on shift when I'm at work, I go to the gift shop at 3 p.m. and I get me a little bag of Laffy Taffy, and I got to make sure I got enough banana in there because it's my favorite flavor.
That is the best one.
This is banana Laffy Taffy right
Just
here.
like it, yeah.
This is banana Laffy Taffy in a freaking
See, I'm
glass.
so
It
glad I bought
is,
the regular
yeah.
one.
I hate to say it.
Ridiculous.
I need a
I hate to
Laffy
say
Taffy
it.
joke.
I don't dislike Laffy Taffy, but
Oh, it's
You know
the
what?
best.
they screwed this beer up.
I mean,
Shake that Laffy
I love Dragon's
Wow.
Milk, man, but I don't like this.
Is there a joke under the cap?
Man, there's
right? Is there a Laffy Taffy joke on this? I mean, seriously.
The Laffy is the big
Yeah, it
part of
says-
it. You know, that's half of it.
They're
You know,
terrible
There
jokes
actually
now,
is.
but
How many brewers does it take to make a podcast?
too many.
Way too many.
Yeah, that, I'm
a good
sorry.
podcast or just a podcast?
Just a podcast. Yeah, today it's a lot.
So
How
getting
many,
back
how many
to
vampires does it take to change a light bulb? None. They like it in the dark.
Hey-o.
Hey.
That is a Laffy
Mikey
Taffy
is
joke right
hilarious.
there.
how many Vietnam veterans does it take to?
We're peaking. Stop that.
Were you in
That's right. You don't know because you weren't there. That's the punchline.
That's pretty clutch.
Okay, Stubby 1.0. Let's go.
So let's get back to the sweet stout part of it.
Off the
Let's go.
rails.
Ryan,
man.
what advice can you give somebody about the overall the basic design of a sweet stout recipe? What's your focus on it and your philosophy?
I don't have a philosophy or a focus on anything.
All right. Cool story, bro.
What about a
Well,
philosophy?
Here's the thing. Just follow guidelines and really, like I said, take your time and follow your taste buds and get other people to taste it as well. And then before you add flavors or anything,
Right.
get other people to taste it and really know what's going
Well,
on.
you
But
know-
get your base recipe down before you really try to start
Nice.
adding stuff like Mikey did,
Yeah.
like a
Did you hear
burp,
that?
like
Well,
it's dry hopped with burp. Like
and one of the things that I'll say for you, Ryan, your beers have evolved and changed, and I think you're always trying to make them better and do it better. And man, I think your beers are really solid now, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we went to I think, who did I go? Oh, we went to the I think it was the guild meeting we had there, and I enjoyed everything we had there.
Yeah.
Man, everything is really good. And you guys, if you're here in Fort Worth, when is your tours?
Thursday through Fridays. Yeah.
Okay, you're just doing tap room hours
And then,
now, right?
Yeah, Thursday and Fridays we're open 4 to 10, and then Saturday and Sundays we're open 12 to 10. So.
Good. I really, really enjoy it. It's a neat, cool atmosphere. It's kind of lax.
It's a cool part of the city, too.
Yeah.
It really is a cool part.
Family friendly and pet friendly.
Is there maybe a big event you have coming up here in the next week or so, Ryan, that you kind of want to plug?
Absolutely. Let's let JoJo plug that.
So Friday, December 7th,
Get back, Joe.
we'll be celebrating our 4-year anniversary
Yeah.
Lardy, man. Panther Island Brewing, man. It's gonna be Friday, December 7th, 4 to 11 p.m. Dude, we're gonna have 35 plus beers. We'll have
35 beers.
dude. Yeah.
So
I bought a lot of fruit puree from you guys.
Well, that's just
The
what I was
past
going to ask
2
you.
weeks.
That's what I was going to ask you, Ryan. You know, I've pulled some of those fruit purees.
Yeah.
Can you tease some of the stuff because I know I have some blood orange, some raspberry, some cranberry for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. But no, I cannot.
Okay, awesome. Like I look forward to trying.
It's
the
all
weird
a
stuff,
secret.
like the weird fruit stuff.
Well, I'll tell you that the blood orange was pulled for a bourbon barrel aged IPF&A blood orange. So,
You know,
Very nice. Very nice.
Ooh,
I just
nice.
want to say, you
didn't put honey in it?
hell no.
come on now. Come on, man.
Damn hell.
You put banana
So,
in it.
I met Ryan like 6,
No, it was like 8 years ago.
8 years ago, back when they were just fledglingly starting this whole project. They were just trying to start this project. And they had a little shop in Haltom City over here. A little. They had a small space.
Yeah.
And they were brewing as much as they could on an electric brewery system.
Yeah.
We went over there. And he was brewing his pumpkin ale.
Yeah.
That day, and
Trying to brew.
trying to brew the pumpkin
Is this
ale.
where you broke the carboy, or
No. And that that was like the story related at that point. I had broken a carboy that day, and like we both remember these certain events, and to see this brewery now, and to have been there, and share. You had one of my first versions of the chocolate mint stout.
Yep.
Yep. The breweries, it's fantastic. It's great to see that place.
I appreciate it.
Grow in the way it has.
I appreciate it. Yeah, Mikey and I have known each other for a
Long time
long
now.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really
I'm
cool.
sorry about that.
Shut up, Brandon.
Well,
I'm really proud of what you guys have done. So
Thank you.
I would say you mentioned the random spot here in Haltom City. Austin was just telling us about that probably a week or so ago in the shop. He was talking about
it was a
Panther
little
Island was in this like
warehouse
little
thing.
that's
I mean, it was big enough to put maybe a truck
Yeah.
in, and you had built up a cold room and a brewery space. It was incredible.
You know, it's funny, when I started that, I went around and asked local breweries to, hey, give me advice. What should I do to start a brewery? And someone said, don't.
Stubby probably.
I believe that.
No. What was cool is Texas Brewing Inc. was my go-to here. That was my haven to come if I had a recipe that I didn't know what to do. I could come here and they helped me develop and everything. And y'all have always been there from the very beginning. So I feel blessed to be here tonight on this podcast. So thank you so much for
cheers, man.
allowing us to.
I'd just like to say I feel a lot of love in the room.
Hey, man.
I think there's going to be some hugs at the
It may
break.
just be me, but it was here a minute ago.
Well, maybe a high five. Hug is too much.
I don't think so.
Ryan loves to hug.
Your hugs are too much.
But
Well, and that's kind of the reason and for you guys that are listeners out there, that's kind of the reason that we decided to do a little over a year ago. We decided to really get into the pro brewing industry. It's because so many of these guys, like yourself, they came to us and they go, man, we still want to buy from you, and we were like, hey, man, let's make this happen. So, and it's been really, it's really been a crazy, transition for us, and it's like running two businesses at the same time. But it's really been rewarding because the way I look at it is, man, it's like we're helping people realize their dreams while we're helping us realize our own. So it's a really like a symbiotic relationship, and it you just can't beat it. It's
a big word for the first half.
Yeah.
I think synergy is the 21st century. Synergy.
Synergy.
Synergistic.
Synergy.
Yeah. Just in a minute. Here in a little bit. Here in a little bit, we won't be able to say social media. So.
I'll be able to say it. I'll be able to say it.
Say it.
Hey, we're also passing around here. Chris was nice enough to bring us this Brash Brewing Imperial Coffee Milk
That's pretty
Stout,
impressive.
which is really outstanding.
It is
black
dang
masses.
good.
That is good.
It says fight milk on there in little. Do you think it's made with real crow?
Well, I tell you, I have had crow by itself, and it has crow in it.
Yeah. There's a whole crow in every bottle.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jeez.
So this one actually has a little bit of coffee.
A little bit? I mean, a little bit?
Oh, well, I don't know.
It's a
But-
lot.
But those are all, man. Think about all the cool stuff that you can do with these. I mean, some of the things that you can do with Sweet Stout.
It says double coffee, so that's
double. So
more
that's
than-
like
that's
espresso.
Like two.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Double shot.
It's like
really
two times.
tastes like it's
Quad shot.
Yeah.
Well, that's like you were saying. The cool thing about the milk stout is that the sweetness in it. You can really get strong with the coffee, and it'll take a bit of that edge off of it.
Yeah.
This even has some of the bitterness from the coffee in it. Still, I can't imagine what it would be like without the milk.
Well, a lot
part
of
in
times
there
people will
without the
add
lactose.
vanilla to this as well to kind of accentuate the flavors,
yeah.
but not really be an overpowering flavor.
Well, and I've talked about this before. There was a great article, and it's been 8+ or so years. It was a girl that was a baker, and she did it. It was BYO or one of the magazines, and she wanted to know, what does caramel 10 really taste like? What does caramel 20 really taste like? So they did
Shit, man.
like
What a
1
bottle of
liter
fucking
little
beer.
little mashes, and she did like a measured amount of base malt and then caramel 10, and she said, all right, what does that really taste like? And she went all the way up with caramels, and then she decided, okay, well, what does coffee malt taste like? What is chocolate malt? And then she's got a baking background, so she knew that if you're doing something with chocolate, you add a little coffee flavoring and it pops the chocolate. If you're doing something with coffee, you add a little chocolate and it pops the coffee. So that's something I've taken into my brewing very heavily. And I always add, if I'm doing a chocolate stout, it's always got a small amount of coffee malt. If I'm doing something with coffee,
It's like an ice cream.
I have a definite chocolate malt flavor to it. And I'm sure Ryan knows,
On that
accenting something like that.
Holy
on that
crap.
roasted, it'll like chocolate will definitely give you. Chocolate malt will definitely give you more of a coffee flavor.
Sure,
I
Ryan,
think.
you need to try this, man.
Yeah, you got to try this.
Well,
So we're passing around Neapolitan Stout from
Untitled Art.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's Untitled Art. They did a collab with Bottle Logic on this one, so it's
Okay,
Untitled
yeah.
Art and
It
Bottle
smells
Logic.
like
You
ice
can
cream.
definitely taste all three profiles on it. It's so
Like,
good.
The thing that people
smells
don't
like an
realize,
ice cream sandwich.
like
really good.
chocolate malt is a misnomer. Chocolate malt is not chocolate flavored. Chocolate malt is
Roasted.
the color.
Yeah.
That's what the name is for the color. You want chocolate flavor, you use pale chocolate. You use Carafa, like the Carafa special
Not
too.
Carafa.
You can use the special in small amounts, but you mean
I don't get
You're-
chocolate out of that though.
That tastes like an ice cream sandwich.
Yeah, that
Nope.
does.
where is
for
it? I didn't get any.
You can
But
get
is that a bad thing?
And that's 11% too.
Oh,
Is it
gee.
really?
Yeah, it's 11%.
That's an 11% ice cream sandwich
No
right there.
fucking
This beer is 11%.
11%.
way.
Dude,
It's
they,
11%.
they also have a what was
Is
it
it
Oh
11%?
my gosh.
a chocolate Scotch ale.
Oh.
dude.
Wow.
Good stuff, man. Yeah.
What brewery?
If my wife is listening,
Untitled Art.
I am not drinking that.
From
I am
Wisconsin.
Not drinking it.
Wisconsin.
Untitled
Yes.
Art, they're out of Wisconsin, but they've just started seeing distro here in Texas. They do a lot of collabs. Like you said,
We
there's
need
a
you to say the
Scotch
whole word of everything.
Collaboration.
collaborations. And they
I
have
got it
a,
when I was on vacay. I had a little bit of a convo with it with my BIL.
Shut up.
Sorry. Hey, we're drinking strong beer, man. It was bound to happen at one point.
This is ridiculous. Let's get back to the point.
I don't know what the point was at this point.
We're so far away from the point, you can't even see the point anymore.
But
The point is a
basically, I
dot.
mean, everything we've
football,
we've
man.
been
It
trying
really-
lately is heavily adjunct stouts
Yes.
that
yeah.
tend to be on the sweeter
yeah, we'll
end.
go with
so
that.
that's
And here's my,
what's your advice on adding adjuncts?
like I said, take your time.
Do it.
We've done it. We've done it already.
Yeah.
Do you use
I
any
already
flaked
said that,
adjuncts
so.
do you use any kind of flake product in yours?
Like flake barley or
In,
flake
barley
flake
or-
in
oats.
what beer?
In the
Sweet
in the
Fang?
Sweet Fang.
No.
Kind of give it more body. Okay.
No. Nope.
You use the
You
lactose.
know, one of the things we talked
Yeah,
about with the Turning
lactose-
Point guys is
lactose
that
is it.
when they use the lactose, they actually mash lower to get a more attenuative wort because they're adding that lactose on top of it.
Damn it.
Well, you
They
know,
got my secret.
but
Because my
They
mash
stole
tip
it.
on Sweet Fang is, I won't tell you.
low as
but
hell.
It's pretty low.
Well, you know,
But I add a lot of lactose.
I love the thing that they talked about is don't brew a beer and throw some lactose in.
Right.
It.
Yeah. Design
Brew-
the recipe around
Design a
having-
beer
yeah.
that you're going to put lactose in, and that's the same thing with a sweet stout. Don't brew a stout and go, man, I want this sweeter and throw some lactose in it.
Yeah,
Make a
definitely
sweet stout.
not.
Plan for that lactose. Plan
One
your
of the things
recipe
I-
around that additional sweetness that you're going to leave in the beer.
The cool
Right,
thing
yeah.
about it is that it allows you to amp up the roasted malts.
Yeah.
It lets you get a little more crazy with your roasted malts because it's going to be balanced out by the
Amp
lactose.
up your specialty malts.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
absolutely. And that too will drop your pH down, which will help with everything else in the long run
Right.
too. So, I didn't. Yeah, I don't do anything with the.
Flake.
Yeah.
You got real quiet.
I know.
Don't do any.
So we want.
Just,
we
All
want
right, I
to-
think
I
it's
just
time for
totally
break,
pulled
right?
an
Yeah,
e-brake.
let's take-
Yeah,
let's-
e-brake.
Yeah, let's go to a break, and then when we come back, we've got a patron's beers we're gonna try. He wanted us to. No,
No,
We're not gonna
okay.
drink those tonight.
All right. We got some Irish beers.
Oh, we're gonna call him. Okay, sweet.
Next week.
Sometime middle of next month.
Oh,
sometime in the
okay.
middle of
I
next
thought we were
month.
doing it. That's why I told Michael to
Like-
put him in the
like
refrigerator.
Christmas?
tonight.
Yeah, we have them cold. I was kind of looking forward to that
Christmas.
prickly pear saison.
We got to hide those things. Man.
Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah. Hide those.
All right.
So we're doing
I think
Irish
it's time
beers.
for a break.
Wow, I said shh.
All right, listen to the Many Colored Death Melt Your Face, and we'll be back in a few.
You're damn right.